Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mashion podcast. We are really happy that you guys are enjoying it, and we're hoping to come out with many more topics and many more themes. जैसे कि आप लोगों को पता है, we are talking about loss. Loss जो होता है वो सिर्फ ये नहीं होता कि आप किसी को physically lose करें जब किसी की death होती है. सिर्फ वो एक लॉस नहीं होता, सिर्फ वो एक ग्रीविंग पीरियड नहीं होता. बहुत सारे और तरीके और तरह के लॉस होते हैं, जैसे कि फाइनेंशियल लॉस, लॉस ऑफ अ जॉब, लॉस व्हेन यू गो थ्रू wanting something in your life and you don't get it, or getting it and then losing it. It could be a college, a placement at a college. It could be, like I said, a job. It could even be a breakup. It could be marriage. It could be so many things. Today specifically, we wanted, जब हम लोग ये सोच रहे थे कि हम किसको बुलाएं, क्या चीज़ों पर बातें करें, तो हमने ये सोचा कि कोविड के दौरान, एंड ऑब्वियसली अदरवाइज ऑल्सो, लेकिन इस साल स्पेसिफिकली हमने देखा कि बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स ने सफ़र किया. स्टूडेंट क्या करता है? प्लानिंग करता है, स्पेशली जब वो कॉलेज जा रहा होता है, आफ्टर स्कूल प्लान करता है कि मैं ये करूँगा, मैं यहाँ जाऊँगा, मैं ये प्लेसमेंट लूँगा, मैं इतने एसेज लिखूँगा, अप्लाई करूँगा. और सडनली एकदम से, बिकॉज ऑफ अ पेंडेमिक विच वी ऑल सफ़र थ्रू, लेकिन स्पेसिफिकली स्टूडेंट्स, सडनली उनके सारे प्लान्स, उनके फ्यूचर प्लान्स ख़त्म हो जाते हैं, एक ब्रेक पे आ जाते हैं. एंड the more I have spoken to students who have gone through this specific thing, where they were going to college or they had to come back from wherever they were, it has been a very difficult time for them to deal with it. Today we have with us Alizeh Atif, who is a college counselor and advisor. She runs her own company. And I am very happy to have her here with me. I've been talking to her for a while. We had a few technical difficulties. And her energy is amazing. Her whole outlook is amazing. And I'm sure that today we will learn a few things which we did not know, even though maybe we've all gone through this. But this is something that I'm very excited about, this episode. Thank you, Alizeh, for coming here.
Thank you for having me. I feel very blessed to be sitting on this couch while you're the coach.
I'm sorry, I'm not the coach. You're the coach.
No. Thank you very much for having me.
But this was the only sweatshirt that I had at Mashion, so I quickly wore it. I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm not the coach. You're the coach.
Okay, excited.
And I'm sorry for sitting like this.
I think you look more comfortable than me.
I know.
You look
We're gonna
fine.
make you take off your heels also midway somewhere.
I actually have really clean feet, so I don't mind.
Oh, you're one of those.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
I knew I was coming here, so I had to be.
Oh.
I did not.
Oh God, you know that I never get manicure pedicures done ever.
Really?
Ever? Can't you tell?
No, I can't tell.
Because you're not looking, na, here.
No.
So, Alizeh, my first off the bat question to you is, we will talk about loss. We will talk about, the students who you have counseled and the people who you have counseled specifically in this year during the COVID. So, Alizeh, before we talk about loss, the students who come to you, the way you counsel them, why do they come for counseling, all of that, I want to know, how did you come to this conclusion कि ये मुझे करना है, this is my calling or purpose or whatever, why did you think कि this is what I want to do?
So, there was never a moment where I fully knew that. I actually initially didn't even know college and career counseling was a full-time...
Was a thing.
It was a thing.
Right.
I thought it's some people who do it, maybe, but I didn't know it's a career.
Right.
But I made some unconscious choices and I was in environments where I felt happy.
Okay.
And I tried to put those moments together. And those moments were when I was helping someone, when I was sharing my experience of being abroad, growing as a person in an area where there was diversity, and just going outside my bubble of what I knew home and studying.
Right.
And I realized I want to share that, and I want to share my experiences, and I want to help people about higher education.
Okay.
But I didn't know it was college counseling. It was, I had moved back, I was looking for jobs, and I went to high school, and I applied. And I had studied marketing.
Okay.
So they said, why don't you market our students? You studied marketing. You market the students, market the universities, and that's marketing, but in higher education. I said, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I just learned more about college counseling, and the more I got into it, the more I realized the value of it.
And the fact that people are actually unaware.
I was unaware when I got into it.
Right.
I didn't know the impact or the value of expert guidance or the right guidance at the right time.
Right.
So yeah, that's
okay. So because I've also not, I mean, when I was going to college,
Yeah.
I didn't have a. We had somebody in
your high school,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, no, not in my high school, but yeah, where I was doing A levels from, we did have somebody, but it wasn't really like guided
Yeah.
counseling. Where you know exactly where you have to apply and what works for you. We were talking about that earlier.
Yes.
Tell me something. मुझे ये बताओ कि किस तरह के लोग तुम्हारे पास आते हैं. अब देखो, we obviously जो लोग बाहर पढ़ने जाते हैं वो एक different social class के लोग होते हैं, right? मैं ये नहीं कह रही कि सभी लोग जो बाहर पढ़ने जाते हैं वो उनके पास पैसा होता है या they can be painful. I went and studied abroad. I used to apply for my FAFSAs, which is financial aid. I used to apply for scholarships because I could not afford it at that time. In full. Okay.
Yeah.
So not everybody who goes abroad
Can pay in full.
Can pay in full.
Yeah.
But also this is something that is an issue at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
You tell me what kind of students come to you. I want to know the whole gamut of it. कि किस तरह के लोग आते हैं?
Honestly, there are people who are very clear of what they want and they just know what kind of counseling they need. So they just need to know how to write good essays, how to find the right list. But increasingly what I've noticed is, especially in COVID, because there's so much more uncertainty and already stressful process of applying, there are people who have heard a lot of things about many different places and the value of studying abroad, but they don't know what could work for them. They don't know what major to go for. They don't know what country. Interestingly enough, they don't know what budget different regions have about universities. So how much does an undergraduate in the US cost? Or how much does a master's in the UK or Canada cost?
Right.
So there are these people who have dreams, who've worked hard, who've worked very hard. Their families have supported them with education, tuition fees, maybe more than they could comfortably afford. Yet they're ambitious.
Yeah.
They just want to know what works for them, and they need guidance that's tailored for their own career and academic plans.
Right. So what I understand by this is कि होता ही है, and at least I think that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I try to take all of this information and then try to simplify it so that the people who are listening, can gain from it.
Yeah.
So what happens is, and I think what you're saying is that a lot of times, हमारे एक बड़ा set एक दिमाग होता है, right?
बिल्कुल.
Like I wanted to go to UCLA.
Yeah.
And it was just what I wanted to do. And I wanted to study this. And I wanted to, it was such a, it was so strict in my mind.
So specific.
So specific
Right,
that this is what I want and this is how I'll do it. First I'll do this, then I'll do this, then I'll go here, then all of that. But what you're saying is that when a counselor comes on board, a person who will guide you, वो actually आपको बताता है ठीक है आपको UCLA तो जाना है लेकिन क्या आप medicine पढ़ रहे हैं क्योंकि UCLA is great for medicine लेकिन अगर आप film पढ़ रहे हैं तो USC is great for that और अगर आप afford नहीं कर सकते तो आप यहाँ भी जा सकते हैं आप community college भी कर सकते हैं आप 2 साल बाद फिर यहाँ जा सकते हैं all these things are what we are unaware of and students are unaware of, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is where you come in.
Bilkul, because the thing is that this process is very complicated because there's so many options. There are over 4,000 universities in the US, right? And we've just heard of, let's say, the Ivy Leagues or that top 20, right? But the thing is, there are people who've heard a lot about a lot of things, but they don't know what that right fit would be of either that major, of that university list. And they really want to know what works for them best. And at least that's something I enjoy the most. Finding it's I tell myself I'm a jigsaw I put jigsaws together, put puzzles together.
Right.
I find the right fit. First I help people understand what makes them unique, right? If they want to do something, why is it? So we're sure, is that really what they want, or is that something they've been conditioned by XYZ that this is what you must do?
So tell me, how do you do that? Let's say I come to you.
Sure. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
this is how I was, by the way,
Sure.
before going to college.
Yeah.
I wanted to do chemical engineering. I loved chemistry.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then I also like psychology, and I also want to be. But I was all over the place. You know, I wanted to be
But
a journalist.
aren't we all at that age? Most
Maybe
of us, right?
I don't know. I've had friends who were very decisive at that age. You know,
They knew that this is what they want to do.
yeah. Maybe now they felt कि यार ये क्यों
See,
किया?
later on that
हाँ.
does happen.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I think not just at that age, generally we have been expected to be very clear in what we want to do
Yes.
and how we'll get there, which is great. And there are some people.
Right.
But give yourself the chance, and as you said, how would I do it with you? I would ask you very basic questions.
Like?
You know, where do you find yourself the happiest? With a lot of people or with a few people? Do you like to be in the middle of a city? Where do you feel, happy? And I genuinely ask happiness or comfortable or confident. Where do you
Right.
feel most empowered?
Right.
Do you like to be in nature, surrounded by mountains?
Okay.
Or do you like to be in a bustling city? Then I would ask you actually one of the first things. What is that financial budget that would be comfortable for you or your family or whoever's funding, right? I would very much ask that, and then I would talk about this region is good and this region with these other universities. And I think grades have to come in, like for the US, what is your SAT score, all of
Right,
that.
right.
But I think this should be more of a human process, not a ranking one, because all our life we're trying to label ourselves
Absolutely.
in little boxes of this is my achievement.
Absolutely.
But counseling is a much more human process, a kinder process, where it's really
It takes you out.
personalized.
It takes you out of the ranking system.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
actually tells you, okay, and this is what I hope that students are listening. But I really hope that parents are listening.
Yes.
Because सबसे ज़्यादा obviously क्योंकि आपके वालिदैन आपको पढ़ाते हैं लिखाते हैं I mean उनकी आप ये सोचें कि कभी कभी मैं सोचती हूँ कि यार हम लोग पूरी ज़िंदगी अब कमाते हैं और फिर अपने बच्चों पे
बिल्कुल.
So that's just how my parents did it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
कमाया और अपने बच्चों को पढ़ाया
बेहतर से बेहतरीन
बेहतर से
opportunities.
बेहतरीन
And sometimes वो नहीं भी कर सकते थे, but वो करते
बट
थे.
वो करते हैं
बिल्कुल.
I mean लोग अपनी ज्वेलरी बेचते हैं लैंड
It's a reality, बिल्कुल.
100% it's
And
a
there's no
reality.
harm, like, what happens? Sometimes saying it the way you're saying it, people don't feel comfortable.
Yeah,
Talking about
but-
finances in
Right,
college. There's a bit of self-esteem, especially at that age where the brand what car you come in, what brand your phone is, where do you vacation in the summer and winter holidays. When you add college to it, there's that unhealthy link of your self-esteem and higher education or the
Yes.
career, and that's very unhealthy for children.
It is
And
very
parents,
unhealthy.
because why should their love be having a price tag of where they can send their kids?
Absolutely.
Societally, it's the wrong kind of pressure we're adding.
Agreed, and it's I think it's worse over here, obviously. In our side of the world,
South Asian
our part of
cultures,
the
there's a
world.
lot of
Yeah.
pressure on your university or your job really labeling what you can bring to the table,
Yeah.
what your potential is.
Yeah.
That's why there's so much pressure on the
And
kids.
you see the problem again. The problem is that I hate saying this out loud because I never want कि जो इस वक्त मुझे देख रहे
Yeah.
हैं या सुन रहे हैं
Yeah.
उनको ये हो कि माहिरा खान तो ने तो ये कहा था तो ये हम करेंगे.
Yeah.
So I don't like saying it.
Okay.
But I will say it. I'm a dropout. I saw that eyebrow raise.
No, it was an eyebrow relax. Honestly, it was an eyebrow
No, I
relax
know.
where thank God people
Yeah.
can say, I am a dropout
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
will talk about it.
And I will talk
And I will
about
own it.
Yes, I will
Go on.
own it. And I'll
Yes.
tell you how I'm a dropout. I mean, I won't give you the full detail
Yeah.
of it, but I was a very good student. I was on scholarship. I had everything going for me.
And you went as an international student?
I went as I had a green card at
Okay.
that time. So but still not, I was in a US.
You were in the processing, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, getting financial aid was much easier than an international student.
But there was still
And
a lot of paperwork. FAFSAs aren't easy to fill. They're
FAFSAs
so
are-
complicated.
Yeah, bloody hard.
Yeah.
And so I had financial aid, on top of which I was given scholarship because of my grades. I still used to work 2 jobs and all of that, jazz or whatever. But at some point, I pulled the plug. Okay? And I came back and all of that. And people, I think about it and I'm like, I mean, at the end of the day, I will never tell my child that college or higher education is not important. Believe me, I think, talk, interact with people the way I do because of that,
Yeah.
because of those years there, because of the exposure. बिकॉज ऑफ ऑल ऑफ दैट. तो मैं ये नहीं कह रही कहीं भी कि आप ड्रॉप आउट होंगे तो आप ये होंगे. ये एक मुझे लगता है एक छोटा परसेंटेज है जहाँ फॉर इंस्टेंस मुझे पता था मुझे एक्ट्रेस बनना है.
You knew.
आई न्यू, यू नो. तो मेरी वो एक पैशन ही और थी, मेरा एक गोल ही
Your
और.
calling.
योर कॉलिंग इज फर्क. बट अगर मैं यूसीएलए तो नहीं जा रही थी, लेकिन मैं दो साल मैंने कम्युनिटी कॉलेज में गुजारे, फिर मुझे यूसीआई में एडमिशन मिला. सो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज दैट सक्सेस,
Yes.
और आप कौन से कॉलेज जाते हैं और आप कितना ज़्यादा वो एक मैं मिगिल गया या हार्वर्ड गया या जहाँ भी गया या यहाँ फॉर इंस्टेंस
Of course, we have great academic institutions.
लम्स गया और ये यहाँ से. Of course, a good institution will give you what is, required. But are you a good fit for that institution?
Yes.
Will that institution nurture your dreams, your passions? Right? Am I correct in saying?
100%. And exactly, this is the link we must make. And these are conversations we must have about colleges. Not where how many % get employed in 6 months. Those are hard statistics.
Yes.
And the thing is that growing as a person, I think a lot of people can get into places. Can they remain there, be happy, grow as an individual?
Yes.
Care about their community, learn about how the world actually runs, what the problems of the daily lives are.
Absolutely.
And her environment, her personality, student, it's different. But what's really important is give the student the chance to get to know themselves, discover themselves, whatever their interest, whatever their passion. And it's not where you go. I genuinely believe that. It is what you make of it. You should work hard. You should study. There's always a time, right? It's true. You should study when you're in school. Yeah. But studying doesn't mean if you don't get an A, you didn't study. It shouldn't be such a direct link.
Yeah.
And this pressure of how many... I hate this question when people introduce students. Oh, what school do you go to? How many years did you get? Yeah. I think already then we're putting them in that space where they must justify themselves.
Absolutely.
And what happens then is that when they're looking for universities, they're not looking, their filter is not, do they have that club or society of singing or arts and debating? They're looking for what's the ranking.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think parents and students, and like their children, should work together and have timely, open conversations. The communication, the kind of communication they have, should not be, oh, but my sister's son went there, what will people say?
Right.
Not in this. Later on life, you're prey to this for everything else.
Right.
But for higher education, see it as a moment of growth, not as a sense of adding it to your set of achievements where this is where I've gone.
Right.
It's a much more authentic process.
Okay, so tell me this. Now I know that you focus on Canada and UK.
And US.
And US,
yes.
sorry. Just do you focus on Pakistan university placements at all or no?
I do. And the reason why right now it's not happening is because Pakistan's admissions start January onwards.
Okay.
So right now I focus on the US, UK, Canada. Then I focus on Turkey. That is where I did go for my undergraduate.
Okay.
And Pakistan, December, Jan onwards. And I've had people who've gotten in with scholarships. And I help them apply for scholarships. And I cannot tell you that once they graduate, whether they've gone to Pakistan, whether they've gone abroad, at the end, the differentiation is what they made of it. When they were on a campus, whatever it may be, Harvard, or it might be an unknown place, right? Anywhere. It's how did they spend their free time? What did they do outside the classroom?
Yes, absolutely.
That's what differentiates them as a personality and their polishing. And how they what kind of presence do they have?
Right. So now tell me this, which is something that we want to talk about. Loss.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to know from you. इतने सारे बच्चे आते हैं और ख्वाब लेके आते हैं, उम्मीदें लेके आते हैं. It's a very unique time.
बहुत sensitive time होता है.
बहुत. So when they, let's say, don't get in into their dream college or now with COVID, you know, they had planned their life out. I'm going to go, I'm going to do this. It's all like,
it's all in their head and it's their reality.
Yeah, it's their reality. When that gets busted, that bubble or that feeling, the loss, tell me what happens.
It's difficult to even talk about it, because I've had these conversations with people who are 17, 18, 19. That's little. These are the years where you're old. And the few conversations I've had, what they say 2, 3 months after even it's COVID, they say, we're still in shock. They say, we haven't accepted it. And this year, A levels the Cambridge system came out with a new system. They didn't sit down for the exams. They got predicted grades, and the way it was measured was very obscure. And then they last minute changed it also.
Bilkul.
So these kids who anyway were going through understandable high school peer pressure of growing into their personalities, understanding who they are, had to deal with this big conundrum, right?
What I want to know now is that, of course, different, like you said, everyone's unique, right?
Yeah.
And that's actually what your strength is. That's where you come in. You want to find the right fit.
Yes.
Who are you? All of that.
Yeah.
But of course, one size does not fit all.
Yes.
So you have to deal with all kinds of people, right?
Yeah.
That's what I actually, in essence, want to know. That, I'm sure there are people who come with, like you said, there are kids who are in complete denial.
Complete, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Are there kids who are angry? Are there kids who go into depression? Are there kids who don't know what has happened to them? I'm sure there are kids who are hopeful. I'm sure there are kids who are driven. I want you to talk about all kinds of these students who come in and all kinds of emotions that they deal with.
So, just how there are different personalities, the way students react is different. What I've seen is a bit of a range. There are some who, they were just resilient, maybe that's their personality. They said, okay, well, if it's done, now what do we learn and what's our next step? What's alternative?
Right.
That's one kind. And I'm glad, But what I'm more concerned about are the ones who don't know what to do right now. And as I said, there's some who are in denial, some who don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
So they have just shut off communication lines with their school counselors, with their parents, and they're just keeping to themselves until they speak to, let's say, a counselor again. And then there are some who want to talk about it, but don't know what kind of conversation to have, how to have that conversation. And of course, I'm so glad that nowadays people within that age can have more mindful conversations about mental health, can speak up about anxiety.
Yeah.
When we were maybe in high school,
There was
I
no-
didn't know what mental health or anxiety, or could
No,
I
not
talk
at
about
all,
it?
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah.
that. But now, even a lot of A-level schools,
Yes.
they do have personal counselors who are therapists in-house.
Oh, wow.
So there's great awareness.
Right.
But what's happening with kids is they're dealing with it in different ways. Some of them have a very different sleeping pattern because they're studying from home and they're staying up all night, they're waking up late, and some of them are taking gap years, and they just don't know who to talk to and what to say. And when it's adding up, parents want to help them, but they don't know how. So it's a bit of a melting pot situation at home. And it's a lot of emotions and different range of emotions. And I try not to, right? Tell someone this is how you must deal with it.
You
this
can't do
is,
that.
yeah. And even though I might, maybe because I've experienced things I'm a little older than them, not that much. Usually I'm 7, 8 years older than them.
Right.
So I'm older, but
But-
they can relate. And
Right.
they know I can relate.
Right. Which is actually the beauty of it.
I
right?
like it, right? I like
Well,
it.
they must also love it. I
I
would have
think
liked
so.
to have someone who is just the right age
Right,
difference where I
yeah.
feel that she's just gone through, so
Relatability,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So I have these conversations and they tell me that, so they just tell me sometimes we can talk about it, sometimes we can't, but somewhere along we figure it out that what the next step can be. For some of them, they need healing time. They need to understand how can one shift their mindset.
Right.
So I had a conversation with one of the students and he said, I'm still in denial, I'm still in shock. So I said, what are you in shock about? Tell me more, right? So it's kind of guided conversations. You don't tell them what to think. You just tell them to speak.
Right.
And somewhere along that, you figure out how can you give them a bit of dimension, a bit of push, and then in their own pace. And there's no science, right? It's not like someone needs 2 days, someone needs 3 days. You just figure it out.
It's personal.
It's personal. It's very personal and it's sensitive. And I really liked how you said, ये उनकी ख्वाब हैं and उन्होंने hope किया था for so long. So it's a difficult time, but what I've been telling all of them is that this is probably one of the first or one of the few things that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
So
That's the
talk
only
about it.
consolation,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah,
That everybody is in this.
In
some
some
more
way.
than others, but yeah.
I tell them talk about it when you feel ready, but talk about. And I feel our age group, generally the older ones, should talk about it. So we set the right precedents
Right.
that we can talk. If someone was getting married, if could not get married, if someone was starting a business or it
So
didn't
many
work,
things.
talk about it.
Yeah.
So they can get that confidence that they
Right.
must talk about it.
And conversation is the stepping stone, right?
Communication, 100%.
Communication.
Just
So
open that line.
Right. So talking about that, do you sometimes think that parents also need counseling?
I think parents need it before. I'm not saying more. They need it before, and that's for their own good. Because sometimes, what happens is some parents come to me and they say something, and initially I have a joint chat and then a separate chat. There's such a big gap sometimes between what they think the children want to do, what the child actually wants to do.
Yes.
And I have respect for parents. I've had parents who've worked, earned that money with a lot of hard work and given me what I have today. So I know the intention. But then what parents do, I don't know how they do it. They earn so much, they give that amount and they just give it, and they don't want any recognition, or they don't want that. It's unconditional.
Yeah.
So the intention is pure.
The
They want the
intention
best.
is never. It can never
It can
be
never
bad, right?
be right. But वो क्या होता है? Sometimes they want the best for the kid, and they unknowingly think that उनके ज़माने में what was it, तो अभी भी ऐसा है.
Well, see, we're all. What are we? We are sort of walking, talking experiences of our own lives,
Yeah.
right? So we speak from experience, we act from experience, we do everything
Yeah.
from our previous experiences, right? That's what psychology is.
Yes.
It's in our head somewhere that ye mere saath. That is where I think that's where a counselor, therapist, or whatever comes in, where the parents need to understand that you may have gone through this,
Yes.
but you've got to let the child experience it on his own.
Yes, and it's out of love. They don't want the child to make the mistakes, right?
Right.
But sometimes you would be handicapping the child by not letting them learn, and the lesson learned by experience by
It's
oneself,
so much
it stays with you.
Yes.
And then you grow from it, because I don't
Yes.
whatever the best access to education or counseling, you will make mistakes.
Yes,
And that is the
absolutely.
path to growth.
Right.
But if one makes mistakes having gone through it themselves, right, or at least give them the opportunity for them to share what they want to do.
Yeah.
And if they're confused, that in itself is an answer that they're entitled to have. That I'm
Absolutely.
confused, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And it can be a beautiful time for a parent and a child when they're applying to college to work together in cohesion. And actually, when they both work together,
That's when it's
that's when it's solid, because wherever the child or parent will go, they both will be fully aware of the merits, pros and cons.
Yeah.
They both will grow, and parents love visiting the places if they go abroad too, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a beautiful time. I've seen parents and children come together, and when they have in their ways that the counselor can kind of be the middle
Mediator,
person,
yeah.
mediator. And parents should let kids of nowadays, they're very aware, they know
Yeah,
things
they're
earlier than we
super
did.
aware.
They're super aware. But I think give them the chance, let them grow, trust them, but have an open communication line that if they're insecure about something, if they're down about something, or they're feeling confused, the parent should be the first one
Right.
that you go to. But there should be something in place for the child to feel empowered and confident that my mother, my father, whoever my caretaker
whatever
is,
I may say right
whatever
now,
I may
whatever
say,
I may say, I'm not going to be given the eyes. I'm not
Yes.
going to be told. I'm not going to be judged for it.
yes,
Because
judgment, right?
Yes.
Guidance and judgment. I
Right.
can guide them. They're not my children, right?
Yes.
But the level, they've given birth to them. So I have massive respect for parents. I think what parents do, and of course, you're a mother. It's, and I have a sister who is also a single mother, and I've seen that, the way she's dealing with it. I respect for the way they
yeah.
let them go far, let them stay close,
Yeah.
but give them that opportunity to make that little journey,
Yeah.
whatever that may
Yeah,
be, in the same
yeah,
house also.
yeah.
Let them grow.
Because you are not them. They come from you, but
Yes.
they are not you. And that is just the key, in
Yeah.
understanding. And honestly, I think being a mother or a father, being parents, it's a lifelong, journey of understanding. Because as your children grow,
You grow with them.
you're growing,
Yeah.
right? You're as old as as a mother, I'm as old as Aslan, as a human being. So it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk about, which is, TK, we're talking about loss right now as students,
Yeah.
where, they're 17, 18 years old, sometimes obviously older
Yeah.
for those who are going for
Masters.
and stuff. But you see, a lot of it stems from childhood,
Yes.
right? Which is something that I think बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम बात करें कि यार अगर हम जब स्टडीज़ लोग करते हैं, साइकोलॉजिस्ट जिन्होंने स्टडीज़ की हैं, वो क्यों करते हैं? वो इसलिए करते हैं क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं हमारा एक एक्सपीरियंस कलेक्टिव भी रहा है, हालांकि पर्सनल है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं हम सब की ज़िंदगियों में एक कलेक्टिव
relatability for sure.
है.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, it all comes down to the few emotions that we've all faced.
Yes.
We all still face.
And the stages that we've all gone through.
Right,
yes.
right. So I think one big thing when it comes to students and your careers and your dreams and aspirations is that, I don't think, I personally, this is my opinion,
Okay.
and I don't think we teach our children that we haven't given them the coping mechanism of dealing with failure.
Yeah.
फेलियर एक वर्ड है जिससे हम डरते हैं, जिसको हमने एक टैबू बनाया है, उस पर जजमेंट है. अब फेलियर मेरे नज़दीक तो बहुत ही इट्स कमाल की चीज़ है, बिकॉज इट्स अ विन विन सिचुएशन एज फार एज आई एम कंसर्न.
I'm with you.
You fail, you learn. You don't fail, you successful win. It's a complete win-win situation, completely, right? But I was reading somewhere, and I think there's some famous person who said this, but I can't remember who, to be honest, right now, that when they used to come back from school, and the father used to sit with the kids, he would ask, he wouldn't ask like, oh, so what did you do or whatever. He used to be like, so what did you fail at today? And this was a joke, okay?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm serious. What did you fail at today? Okay, fine, you're really good at basketball, but like, what did you fail at? And they used to say, nothing. Like, what? Okay, then go out there and fail. Okay? It's like, well, what do I fail? It's like, you don't like debates, right? So go ahead,
Yeah.
do it. And he's like, as I was growing up, this used to be a thing since we were kids, right? And as time went by, we used to find it so much fun to come and tell our dad
What we failed at.
Dad, guess what happened? Today I did this and I sucked. And he used to be like,
High
amazing.
five.
And I thought that was really like, first I remember reading and being like, what? And then I thought, actually, this is so clever. You have made someone okay with failing.
Yeah.
You also, of course, you have to not be like, fail, good.
Yeah.
No, you can't just, you can't make him
Yeah, but
okay.
you're not saying that. You're saying go on.
Yeah, you're basically saying it's okay.
Yeah.
You can be successful in playing this, but you may suck doing that. But you don't have the aptitude to do something else, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
It's part of life, man. That's going to happen all along. So I feel somewhere we as a society, our parents, our grandparents, whatever, all in all, there is this taboo, there's this, judgment attached with failure. Is that how you see? Have you seen that happen?
I think failure is something, it's linked with shame.
Yeah.
And shame is something bad. You don't want to be associated.
Shame is the worst thing that you
Right?
can do. Yeah.
And I think there are many ways that a society can link many things. You can link with shame, with failure being one of the most major ones.
Yeah.
And once you link it to shame, you don't want to be associated with it
Yeah.
because there's something wrong with you. You're a loser, right?
Yeah.
You lost.
You lost.
Lost being like losing and failing. If you think of the word is not saying it's bad. It's our understanding of it.
Absolutely.
So the connotation that we go with failure, I agree with you. It is one of the most inevitable things. And if we know, whoever we are, we will fail, should we not then talk about how we can grow from that early on?
Absolutely.
And I love how our Prime Minister talks on and on and on about, I would go back home and I would see my footage when he was a cricketer and I would see how I failed. And I would sit down, I would analyze. You see, he's not saying I failed, I owned it and I moved on. He's saying, no, there's a little bit of a process.
Yeah.
So you fail and there's growth. But what's in between? You take a step back, you don't see it as a personal thing. You don't bring your emotions. Rationally, you see, well, what did I do that I got there? Okay, what could I do differently? How could I learn? How could I grow? Okay, done, got that, take a step back, I'm going to do it differently next time. And you move on.
Yes.
So failure could be one of the best things that we can empower our students with if you can understand how it's a learning process, how you grow, and how you step away once you've learned. It does not
Yes.
define you. You move on.
But this is something that you've said, which is brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I'm going to repeat it. That if you know that failure is inevitable,
Yes.
so अगर आप ये जानते हैं कि आपकी ज़िंदगी में फेलियर आएगा, लॉस आएगा,
एक से ज़्यादा दफ़ा आएगा।
बिल्कुल, ये एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो आपको पता है, वो तो आएगी, रियलिटी है।
Yeah.
अगर आप ये जानते हैं और ये आपको पता है, तो फिर तो आपको बस ये पता होना चाहिए कि अगर ये हुआ, अगर ये होता है, तो मैं क्या क्या चीज़ें कर सकता हूँ to overcome it, right?
बिल्कुल।
So that's what you're saying, that okay, it is inevitable, it will happen
Yeah.
sometime or the other,
Yeah.
right? So what are the things that I can do?
Yeah.
What are the coping mechanisms? How can I learn from it? It is between the failure and the like moving forward.
Yes.
That's the process where
Just the process, exactly. And I really think that school curriculums, public, private, at all levels, elementary, middle, high school, at all levels, should have this part of a compulsory module course hona chahiye, that without that you cannot graduate at all levels, and have different elements pe kare, where you're taught, if you're feeling stressed or anxious, what are those breathing techniques, basic techniques. You should be taught, agar you have had a conflict with someone, an argument, how do you really come to a solution? And the third thing I think should be part, how to effectively grow from failure. I really think these are the courses that we must make as part of a curriculum as English, math, and science. We don't have a choice.
But this is so interesting because you're the second person sitting on this, on this chair and saying, we need to put this in our curriculum.
100%.
We need to have this as a subject where
Yes.
kids can deal with stress,
Yes.
with anxiety,
Failure.
with success.
With
आपको पता है,
success. How tough is success, by the way? You tell me that. Like, how everyone talks about how tough and I'm sorry, I'm like asking the question.
No, you are more.
But
more
I
than
would
welcome.
love to know that losing is not easy, right?
Yeah,
you
it's
grow
not.
because it's difficult.
Yeah.
But being successful, and so successful, mashallah, on multiple platforms, and being a maverick, right? You're a trailblazer. What you've done in many ways, you've been the first. So you didn't have anyone to look at how did they deal with it. How difficult is success for you? Has someone asked you this before?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
but not like this, not in this setting where it's
Yeah.
like. But yeah, that's a very good question, because success and this kind of success, for a public personality, it's difficult. It's very, very tough, because again success ऐसी चीज़ है कि आप ठीक है, आपको मिल जाती है,
ठीक है,
you get to the wherever you have to get to, but then you have to maintain it, and maintaining it is actually the hard part. You've seen a lot of people who've been successful or gotten one break or this or that, but then you have to maintain it. How do you maintain it? And then comes in the anxiety of failure. Then comes in the anxiety and the stress and the constant feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to fail, and then this will happen, and then I will have to. It's a very, very, it's a very interesting thing. But yesterday I was on a flight, and my friend who's a producer was on the flight with me, and she said, Mahira, she was talking about something and somebody or whatever. She said, not everybody can handle success. She said, there's a way to handle it. And that's the thing. Just like failure.
It's not that different, is it? After
It's
the
actually not that
consequences, right?
different. You have to handle success.
With dignity, with grace.
With dignity. You can, again, वही वाली बात, जब आपको पता है कि यार, once I'm at the top, the only place for me to go is where? Down.
So it is difficult to be famous.
Yeah, because that I'm up here. There was a time where it was just, you felt like, oh my God, is it all about me? Is the world, is it like just running, like, is it circling me? And you have to understand that I'm here, I will go down. There is no other way to go. But when I'm down, there is no other way than to go up. So that's what life is, And that's where a lot of things come in. If you ask me, that's where solid things like your talent will come in, hard work will come in, your attitude will come in, your aptitude, everything.
And integrity, right?
Integrity. Now those are the things that you have to make solid.
Yeah.
At least this is what I can tell people who are watching or listening. You know?
Isn't it great that in the same podcast we're talking about failure and success? And
Yeah.
did it really feel that different when we were talking about success and failure?
Yeah, well,
It didn't, right?
Well,
so isn't it kind of the same thing?
well,
Because
देखिए, success जो है ना वो एक नशा है, right?
Really?
Yeah. It's like a, you know, you're like, suddenly you feel.
yeah,
So but you're right. They are two sides of the same coin,
yes,
right? If success is
The
you know,
pinnacle.
the pinnacle of you feeling at the top of the world, failure is you feeling like my life is going to end, right? And they
Yeah.
both are just the opposite extremes.
opposite, yeah.
And in both of them, you have to come to a middle ground. You know, you have to come to a place
Some
where
realization which is very internal. It's really within you. Yeah.
And you know, it takes to get there is a different ball game altogether, you know. And that's why they say very super successful people, what keeps them sane is people around them.
And the kind of people.
जी
Yeah.
बिकॉज जब आप सक्सेसफुल हो रहे होते हैं तो होता ये है कि आपकी ज़िंदगी बहुत रैपिडली चेंज होती है ओके यू नो यू वर जस्ट यू नो आई डोंट नो लाइक गेटिंग लाइक 30,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees on a monthly salary or whatever. Suddenly you've gone from getting out and going to Zena market and buying something, and then now you can't go
Yeah.
because you're recognized, right? So what happens is with success, at least for public personalities, but otherwise also, life changes very quickly. If you notice, what they wear change,
Yeah.
how they talk changes, where they live changes,
Yeah.
what they drive changes, everything changes, and slowly their friends change. You know, their social settings change, and that's it.
Rapidly, yeah.
And that's it. It's gone. Whatever kept, you know, whatever was in essence you, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy a new car, you know, that's just me. But I'm just saying, like, I should, obviously. But what I mean is, it doesn't mean that आप अपना living standard नहीं improve करें. I'm just saying कि मैंने ये notice किया है कि जब आपकी ज़िंदगी में success आती हो और आप rapid change करते हैं ना अपनी हर चीज़ का, फिर आप lost हो जाते हैं. उसी तरह lost होते हैं जब आप failure में lost होते हैं.
Yeah.
So my only advice, and I keep saying this, maybe it worked for me, maybe it's not the same for people, is that there were no rapid changes. My success was rapid, no doubt about that. But this was not rapid. You know, I still have the same friends. My mother still tells me, you know, I have a very famous story where I said, I had won actually 3 awards that night. I came with, but it was, and I'm ringing the bell, and my father wasn't ready to open the door.
Because it was too late?
It was late, and वो keys मेरे पास नहीं छोड़ते, okay? Finally, I think Amma opened the door. At that time, she could, you know, walk quickly and all of that. And she said, this is the time. Where were you? You know, I called up so-and-so and Seher and so-and-so. I was like, Amma, you know, I just keep these awards over there. Just put them over there. And that was it.
That's the superstar at home, at the gate.
But that actually is what keeps you grounded. So that's the idea. And like you said, parents, these are support groups. These are support systems.
Yeah.
It's so important to have that.
And beautiful support systems. So when COVID hit, wherever anyone was, if their schools were getting closed or if they were working remotely, where did everyone self-isolate?
Yeah.
To their nest.
To their nest.
To their nest, however big, however small, whatever color, whatever the temperature in that nest, it was a nest.
Yes.
And I think in Eastern societies, the concept of the family is a beautiful one.
Yes, it
that
is.
being a personal opinion, I think it's beautiful. And I think for students who are finding it hard, whether it's anxiety, whether it's not knowing what you're feeling, whether it's disappointment or not coming to terms, spend time with just being around elders. And I mean like grandparents, if one is blessed. Or just, have you noticed that the way, the presence and aura that they have is one of serenity? Their pace is calm.
Yes.
They're not getting Instagram notifications.
Yes.
Or they're getting nothing of this, you know, of this
Yes.
disconnected. It's just peace.
Yes.
So one thing that's worked for me is whenever I felt maybe after at night, if I was really worried or something, my grandmother lives in the US, so the time difference is good. I just call her and I video call her, and we're not really talking much. She says, "कौन सा drama देख रही हो? माहिरा का देखा है वो वाला?"
अब तो बहुत साल हो गए
No,
यार,
but
हाँ,
honestly,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
little things, but I think for students, it's good to, of course, be around friends, all of that. But if you're really looking for a good tip for how to feel a little
Yes.
more at peace,
Yes.
be around older people and just be around them. And I mean, like that age group.
Right.
Really.
Because I think now this is a very interesting thing that you're saying, because मैंने ये कभी नहीं सोचा है, but I think that the idea is they've been through life.
They know. They
So
know
they
what
know
it
कि
is.
कोई चीज़, you know, my father used to say this to me. He still says it to me. पता नहीं ये मैंने कभी सुना ही नहीं है, ये कोट नहीं सुना, ये कोई मुहावरा नहीं है, पता नहीं
They
क्या
do
है.
have
But
some,
he used to say, remember, heavens won't fall. Heavens won't fall. No matter what happens. दुनिया नहीं ख़त्म होगी.
नहीं होगी.
ज़िंदगी नहीं बंद होगी. ये दुनिया का दस्तूर है. Which is hope, right? At the end of the day, it's a feeling of hope. Sometimes within the family, if you find support, you're very,
Yeah.
very, very lucky.
Exactly. Not everyone has it.
Yeah.
So whoever, I think as elders, whether they're grandparents or parents, experts, counselors, teachers, they can help to a certain extent. But the household has to be one where you
Yeah.
make children comfortable, confident, and empowered with the right tools.
So
And just let them grow.
Parents are listening, okay, which I hope they are. What would you say, one thing, if I tell you one thing, to just say कि आप लोग ये कर लें, you know, what would it be?
It's a big responsibility, so I'm just trying to think. I don't want to say the wrong things. But yeah, I think just trust.
Trust.
Trust your child,
Yes.
and if you trust them, they'll talk to you, and when they
Yes.
talk to you, you can listen to them.
बहुत बड़ी बात है.
Trust
अपने
कर
बच्चों
लें.
पे आप भरोसा
आपने बड़ा किया है,
आप-
आपने बेस्ट ऑफ एबिलिटी से किया होगा.
बिल्कुल.
आपने whatever you had, you made the most of it, right?
Right.
Parenting is from the heart. I
Yes.
think it's
Yeah, yeah.
God. There's some blessing in parenting,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Intention हो ही नहीं सकती बुरी.
Right.
So how can, if you've trusted them and they have your bringing,
Then just
let it flow.
Let it
Let them grow, and it'll flow.
last question to you. Just because we also, I mean, obviously there will be, you know, people who will be contacting you, I have a feeling after this, you know, and that's a great thing, you know, inshallah. So we want people, that's what we want. Out of this, we want people कि लोग सुने. अगर उनको समझ, you know, अगर उनको लग रहा है कि ये मुझे समझ में आ रहा है, great. अगर उनको और ज़्यादा समझना है, तो वो आप जैसे लोगों को contact करें. हम उनको एक एक प्लेटफॉर्म प्रोवाइड करें जहाँ उनके पास, उनको पता है कि मैं ये करूँगा, मैं यहाँ क्लिक कर सकता हूँ, मैं ये देख सकता हूँ, मैं इससे बात कर सकता हूँ, मैं यहाँ जा सकता हूँ. What I want to know from you is, at this time, where stuff is bad, right? It's bad for all of us.
It's very bad.
Very bad.
Yeah.
But it shall get better. You tell me, what are the resources where, you know, those students now that have graduated or need the money at the moment, let's say for part-time jobs or whatever, what are the resources? Where can they go?
So the good thing is just trying to find a silver lining because of COVID-19. It's all remote work from home.
Right.
So you don't necessarily need to be where a company is.
bilkul.
You can be anywhere.
Right.
I have a couple of tips.
Okay.
First of all, update your CV.
ठीक
And
है.
when I say update, तो it should not be 2-3 years का gap नहीं होना चाहिए. Secondly, what you should do is that you should, I'll go a step back actually before updating your CV, right? Start applying not just through websites of companies,
Okay.
right? Or through newspapers.
Okay.
Do smart searches.
Okay.
And what you can do is whatever industry you want to go into, there's probably a Facebook group for it.
Okay.
And these are highly engaged. And can I take names of groups?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So, for example, I was looking for some resources and I
Right.
found a great resource through Soul Bitches.
Okay.
Tech Geeks for Pakistan. Anyone who's looking for IT internships or jobs.
Right.
Then there's one for teaching. So, try to find Facebook groups
Okay.
And
Where you've got
people-
all these people who are engaging
industry-wise,
and talking. Right.
and they're posting all the time.
Right.
Hi, looking for this thing. Now,
Right.
these will not be advertised on their website or on Google or something like that. But this is a really smart search tool because you anyway are at a place where people are looking for those kind of people. That's the first thing.
Right.
Secondly, if you ever respond to anyone, have an updated CV ready by the time you're applying. Because if there's a little bit of gap between you saying I'm interested and sending the CV, it doesn't reflect well.
Right.
And lastly, don't send the same CV everywhere. Tailor your CV.
That's very interesting. Okay.
You have to tailor your
That's
CV.
actually something I was not expecting.
Really?
Yeah.
So some people apply for even within the
Because
same
you have
industry.
to understand, हमारी CV नहीं बनी हुई.
आप लोग का difficult CV है, आप लोग का portfolio होता है actual work visually.
No, I know, but like, I mean, but I've made a CV for sure at one
Right?
point. Yeah, of course. But
I think what people should do is look at the kind of
Tailor
job,
make it, yeah.
tailor it,
Yeah.
and know what are the 4 or 5 skills that role is looking for, and choose your experiences based on that. So reverse engineer you to be the right fit. So that's the really, really tip that works.
that actually is a brilliant tip. Reverse engineer for
To be the
for it
right fit, to
right
be the ideal candidate. So look at their roles and look at their responsibilities. They'll always tell you for marketing, they'll tell you campaign, PR, analytics, all of that. Now think back in the last 3 to 4 years, when did you do something where this could be transferable to what you've done?
Nice.
And then put that in.
Wow.
yeah.
I love these tips, by the way. I love
Thank you.
them.
Thank you.
Lastly, of course, since we have wanted, I mean, I think we've talked about a lot of other things as well.
We really have.
We really
But
have.
I had a really good time.
Yeah, me too. But loss being the sort of main overlying theme of this podcast. As a parting note, I think, I'm sure you have, I'm sure I have experienced, disappointment and loss. And just a feeling of, I wanted to do this and it didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? You tell me personally, this is what helped me, and we'll end on that.
What helped me was going to a specialist for dealing with loss. I see no shame in admitting it. It's one of the best decisions of my life. And I want others to know that it's okay to do it, right? I went to a therapist. And I went to her a few times. Not just once.
Right. No, it's a long process.
I spoke to her and I asked her, I don't know what to do. I'm feeling this way. And actually, I don't even know how I'm feeling about that. And she asked me a few things. I said, I don't know. I sat with it. And I let the specialist do what she's good at. So if my arm hurt, I would have gone to an ortho, right? My heart was hurting. I was feeling anxious. I was feeling upset. There were many things that were not making sense to me. I tried to do it independently. But at one point, I said, you know what? I'm going to take that step. So I went to a therapist and I did a few other things like, of course, healthier eating, mindful breathing, all of that. But I think the most effective thing, I went to an expert.
Thank you for saying that. I did not know that you were going to say that, actually.
I didn't come with thinking I'd say that.
I didn't think I'd ask you this question because I didn't want to, go in personally, into your personal
But
space.
I felt comfortable saying it that yes, it's a personal thing, but because this is a platform and maybe with me sharing that,
absolutely,
people thinking counselor is going to a therapist, really? But I want them to say, wow, if they can go, then for sure we should go too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just like, so this is one takeaway that I have from this, apart from many things that you've told us, is that there is no shame in saying how you're feeling. And asking for help.
Yes.
There is absolutely no shame in that. And I hope that people who are listening at the moment take that and keep it with them.
Yeah.
Because it can really change how you feel, change your life, change your outlook.
I think it really changes the relationship and respect we have for our own selves.
Absolutely.
So the more I think we really invest into your own relationship with yourself and let other things ebb and flow, and you'll grow and everything will be okay. Be hopeful in these times for sure. We're in this together, but of course, dream and hope and grow.
I'm not going to say anything after this because we're going to let you take this. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Thank you.